Bonafide podcast featuring the one and only Ryan Phillips.
Hey y'all,
How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
We blessed to be alive. So another day, another blessing, another dollar somehow, some way. But let's get to it. So Ryan, can you tell us your sports journey to how you got to where you are?
For sure. So, I played basketball growing up, since about second grade. I fell in love with the game. And then after, my senior season ended, I was like, I didn't want to go. I knew I always wanted to do something with sports. I never knew what I wanted to be, maybe like a coach, maybe a sports broadcaster, maybe sports management. I wanted to go to college and that's what I was going to major in. And I ran some tournaments and some fall leagues for a guy named Jack Hennessy. And I got to know him very well. I earned his trust, running these smaller tournaments here locally. And he sold his company to Phenom Hoops and got me in touch with Tyler, Rick, and Colby. And I did a good job down here in Georgia for our first weekend. Earned their trust a little more. They invited me out of state, and it's just been history from there. It's been a great first year. Truly blessed, for the opportunity that they've given me.
For sure. And like we were just talking earlier, I didn't realize how big Phenom Hoops was. Like I didn't realize how long they've been in the business. I'm like, wait a minute, I did this is whole new ball game for me. Like
Since 2009.
see see, I learned something like, dang, so all like probably like all everybody's favorite players they grew up watching, especially in mixtapes, they were probably
Mhm.
there. So
Mhm.
but this leads to my question, what was the transition like going from playing basketball to now in the sports media aspect?
So definitely for me, it was a smooth transition from, practice every day, games, film, all that stuff to, on the other side of the basketball, you know, being able to take what I know from my, high school, middle school and, shine it on the younger generation. I wasn't the best player, but I still took what I knew and I could help the younger generation, and especially with me interviewing, I can use my interviews and get their film and their highlights, and I can highlight what this kid did, and it's being seen by college coaches. I know it is. College coaches follow me, high school coaches, all over the country follow me. So it's just like a blessing. I can take what I did and carry on my basketball journey just on the other side of the game.
For those that don't know, what is the position that you are with Phenom Hips, and what is it like, with that position that a lot of people don't know about?
So for Georgia, I live in Georgia. I'm director of staff, so I staff the events with Clock and Book. I get the trainers sometimes. I get the teams down here in Georgia. We have our operations are the southeast. So Sauce is our guy. He's down here. So he gets he's the director of operations for the southeast. So he gets Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and that's kind of my guy. We're very close. He gets like the teams down here. And then up north, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, that's all, Rick, Tyler, Colby, they're doing a great job up there. So that's what I do in Georgia. And then I travel sometimes I travel out of state. So I've been in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Next year we're going to Florida. So that'll be great. So I interview out of state, and then I also help with the write-ups. I help with the, the behind the scenes, the Twitters, Instagrams. I reach out to teams, get them in our tournaments. I will I'll help I'll sometimes help with the schedule. It depends on, how many tournaments we have, but that's kind of like what I'll do for Phenom.
And can you let folks know, like, so the steps to how you got to Phenom? First of all, what's it like to be able to be part of Phenom Hoops?
Oh, well, it's my first year and I'm just had such a blast so far. It's really a cool opportunity. Not a lot of people, really not like anybody gets the opportunity that I've been given. I was super, super lucky with who I knew, and I was just given the opportunity at the right time to, you know, be blessed to put in the position to do what I do. I'm only 18. I'm very young for my age. Everybody's been told, I have a great future ahead of me. I would love to stay in Phenom, throughout college and after college, help them, run Florida next year. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, so we're out in Arizona. So my goal, even if it's my first year, is just expand out west. We got some northern states we got to go to, some Ohio. We got Alabama, near Georgia, Florida. So if we can just expand that way and make it, global, that would be a really good dream.
Dang, you are say I was gonna say you are young. Like I thought you would be like 20s. I was like, he's young, like, but he already knows what he wants. So I was like, go ahead, I'm here for it. Because do you hope to see like say more, people like kind of around your age, your generation to you know break big in the sports media?
Yeah, so I really never knew. Like I always knew what I wanted to do. Like I wasn't ever sure, but I knew like I wanted to do something within basketball. And I was talking to my parents. I'm just like, I don't really I don't see a clear path, because sports management is a very competitive field. There's agents, but that's super super competitive, and you have to work, years and years, even if it's unpaid, even get a shot at being an agent for even an overseas player, WNBA, college even. But I knew, at a young age that I want to do that, and it was just like I got super lucky with the opportunity I've gotten. But I would just say, reach out to these big corporations, even if you don't get a response, just keep reaching out, and you never know, you might get a shot to do what I do.
For sure. And, what is something that a lot of people do not know about, say, Phenom Hoops, especially outside of, like, say, the tournament? Like, what is something that they offer and they stand out, from all the rest of, say, the big basketball tournaments and stuff?
I would just say the family we have here with Tyler, Colby, Rick, they have taken me in under their wing. They've taught me a lot about, the behind the scenes of Phenom, about how Phenoms works, just a lot of stuff that people that play basketball but don't see the behind the scenes would never even think of. The business side of things, how we get in these tournaments, how we get the venue for it. Stuff I've never even thought about, just blowing my mind, on the car rides back or the car rides, to these tournaments, just getting all this input, learning more about Phenom. This is only my first year, so like I'm trying to, get everything that I need to know so I can propel myself forward, so I can help Phenom in the future. I've been trying to propel them forward with like, if I can do my job and I can do it well, we're gonna be great. We have a great team of guys. We have a pretty tight group, a good family. And I would say with these other corporations, I don't know much about, other corporate. I know we have like On the Radar down here. I know there's Big Shots up north. I don't know about their culture, but I just know that, here it's just home. We have the best staff in the nation. I'll stand behind that. We are great, and I just love the family we have here.
What is like a something of an advice that you have taken from, say, the Lewis family from Phenom Hoops that you like literally apply to it every day?
I just with Tyler, I've been really close with Tyler and Colby and Rick lately. We have Sos down here. He's based in Georgia. He's a videographer for us too. A good lesson I've learned is just keep going. Tyler, it's great with Tyler and Colby. They played basketball growing up. Tyler's a small guard. He's been overlooked his whole life, and he played 4 great years of Division I basketball at a high level. He's living proof that if you just keep going, he had a great high school career, 44-0, as you know. Just keep going. If you keep at it and you keep working, things will look up. Phenom Hoops wasn't the biggest in 2009, and now we're spanning across like 6 states. And that's just Rick, at it all the time. It's crazy when I'll stay at his house for a tournament in, North Carolina, and he's coming back after a 16, 17-hour day, and he's still on his laptop, reaching out to teams and making sure everything's good for the next day. There's a lot of things that people don't see that they do behind the camera and behind, don't even take credit for, that they're just very, humble people, and they do their job well.
Absolutely, like, and because man, like all the AU teams that come in, I'm like, this is very competitive. I didn't know how crazy AU competition and AU circuit is till I saw like some of them, like the parents be in it, and like some of the coaches don't play around, and then you have like some of the players like, oh, it gets intense. I'm like, didn't realize how crazy it gets at times. I'm like, whew, did see this like at I was like, this is my first time ever seeing like an AU tournament like Phenom is. I'm like, They are literally playing like it is their last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads to my question, if you had like a Mount Rushmore of like say basketball players that's say from Georgia or even North Carolina, who would you put in your basketball Mount Rushmore?
Just off like people I've interviewed.
Yeah.
There's a couple. KJ Terry plays for NC Spartans up in North Carolina. He is a he is a force. He's probably 6'8". He's got high mid major offers already. On the younger side, there's a kid named Grant Smith. He's from Georgia. He's a sixth grader, but he's playing up 2 to 3 grades every tournament, which is crazy. And he's still averaging 30. We call him Baby Jokic. That's my guy. Shout out Grant. Um, let's see, there's Babar Johnson. He's a 5-star out of South Carolina. He's a crazy good player. I've watched Isaac Ellis play. Matt Allen at OTE, he played. Um, Bentley Lusaqueno, he played. He just transferred to IMG Academy. He's from Georgia. He went to where'd he go? He was at Pace, and then he transferred to Woodward Academy. He just transferred down to Florida to play at IMG for I think it's his junior season. So I mean, there's so many players that I've watched and interviewed play that I would say maybe Babar, KJ Terry, Isaac Ellis, and I'm gonna put Grant Smith up at my 4.
Oh, the fact you call him Baby Jokic, like is he like kind of tall, like to where he
Yeah,
can just shoot the
he's big.
three? And
Uh huh.
that's
That's my guy.
that's
Everybody
a
know Baby Jokic here.
baby Jokic. That's. I was like, I gotta see if he ever comes down to North Carolina. Be like, which one's Baby Jokic? I'm like,
Uh
okay,
huh.
now I
I,
see it.
I
Like,
you'll see it before I point him out to you.
man, and this leads to my question. When it comes to representation, especially having someone that looks up to you, you look up to someone. How important is representation?
Just for me, I would feel like it's good to have a good image off of like you. Like if you propel yourself as a good image and you're just like a good person all around, it goes a long way. If you're just kind to somebody, I've gotten DMs off people just, hey, Ryan, thanks for being so kind today. I've gotten DMs, hey, I didn't know this, Ryan, but thank you for clearing it up. It's always good to be kind. You can grow relationships off how people see you. I've you know grown good relationships with coaches, with players, with organizations, with people that own companies, and if they look at you down the line and there's like, I didn't really like that kid. That's opportunity that you're giving up just because you're selfless and you weren't kind to this person, or you like didn't give them the information they needed, and you were just like mean to them for no reason. That's not how you want to be represented like down in life. Like I always just be as kind as possible, even if they're say there's an argument or something. If you're kind and de-escalate the situation, you talk to this coach and you talk to the other coach and you come to an agreement, that they'll respect you for that. Or if you have a problem, or something's not going on with something's wrong with the tournament, there's a score messed up in the app, and they're coming, they're yelling at you, and you're just calm, you're collected, and you fix the problem, and you just like talk to them calmly. They'll respect you for that. And maybe I've had parents come up to me and apologize for how they've talked to me, or coaches, because they came off as strong. They're upset. Maybe one of ours put in the scores wrong at the app. It's a quick fix, but I know it messes up the bracket, and that will make teams lose a game. And we'll fix it pretty quickly if we see it. But if you're kind and you represent yourself well, then it'll do yourself wonders in the future.
Man, when you put the kindness out there, a lot of things will multiply back to you. So, and it costs nothing to be kind. I just want people to know that it costs
Absolutely
nothing to be
nothing.
kind. Like it, like, but and this leads to my question. When it comes to mental health, how important is mental health to you?
So for me, it's since I've played, I know the other side of the game. What a bad game can do with your head. What a bad practice. Missing that good. The shot you need to shoot. It really it's messed me up. But it's always next play, next play, next play. It's the past. You can't change the past, but you can sulk on it. But you gotta have that that quick mindset. Next play, there's always another opportunity for you to make up for that play, or to hit that shot, or maybe put in a little more work in the off season or in practice, and you'll see the results. But mental health definitely does have a big impact on today's game. There's kids that are just like, I gotta make it, and I gotta go high D1, I gotta go D1, and D1 is not. I mean, there's D3 and NAIA, D2, but I feel like kids these days have set their mind on D1, or it's like that's it. I'm done with basketball. But yeah, mental health is it's definitely I've seen the impact it's had on people, and I feel like if you have a good attitude and you can overcome your mind in basketball, you'll set yourself up for success.
You hope to see more athletes and men be very open about, say, vulnerability and mental health.
I mean, I know there's issues worldwide about men not speaking their mind, or staying quiet, saying I'm a guy, I gotta keep it in, But there's always people that are here for for family, your grandparents, your teammates, your coaches. If you just want to go talk to them, I'm 9 out of 10 shot, times they're gonna listen to you and they're gonna help you because they care about you. And you're always gonna have somebody to talk to. You should never feel like I'm trapped and I have no one to talk to about this, because there's always someone that cares about you and there's always someone that can help you out.
For sure. And I ask because, you have, say, when it comes to the NBA, you have like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love being very vocal about opening up about mental health. And then, especially as professional athletes, a lot of, say, athletes are seen as superheroes. Like they could take on the world, but then it's like behind closed doors, how are they really
Mhm.
feeling?
For
So,
sure.
and this leads to my question is, if you had a top five list of players, whether they're, current or former, that you would love to interview, who would it be?
You mean like NBA players?
It could be any player from, say, collegiate to pro to even high school, like any players.
Kyrie, I got Kyrie at one because I just love, the way he moves, 2018 Cavs, or was I think it was 2016. I would love to interview, how he got from, growing up in a small house with that. There was like a story of how his backboard was like broken or something. And he's, found ways to, put spin on the ball and have the ball go in and, put some English on it. I would love to interview like, his journey about that. I'd probably have him at the one, Curry at my two, because I grew up watching Curry. I would love to like interview like a point guard, like a smart point, like JJ Redick out of like Duke. Just see how what it takes the mind of a point guard at such a high level. I love Zion Williams too, and I think to round out my five, I'm putting my boy Ty Lue up there.
I'm about to say, I was like, you need to have
Tyler
a
Lewis.
I'm about to say, y'all work together. Y'all need to have like a special interview where you are interviewing Tyler Lewis. That would bring in, first of all, so much engagement and traction, and also help like both Phenom hopes and like your career. I would like that would be fire. Tyler, if you hear this, we gotta get an interview like
We
right
talked
in.
about it.
So yeah, you better speak into existence. I'm telling you, like that would be a fire interview right there.
I
But
think it would
I didn't
too.
know about the Kyrie thing about I didn't know about the Kyrie thing about like he had a broken backboard. I was like, but his spin, the way he spins the ball, especially like layups, I'm just like, this
It's
is
crazy. It's like witchcraft
man,
out here.
man, and it's just like he and it you have to have it in a certain angle to where he does it. I'm just like, this is
Mhm.
his handles is literally like in the top five best handles of all time. Like
Mhm.
just crazy. So but this leads to my question, if there was a word or a phrase to describe your journey so far, what would it be?
I would just say perseverance, just off of just keep going. There's always gonna have the highs and the lows. I didn't have a great senior season. I was behind my junior year. I barely played because I was behind 5 seniors that went. They all went either. I had 2 of them go D1. All of them had offers. A couple of them took them. A couple of them didn't. Went to school. But my junior year, it was just like stay ready because my senior year, that's when I played more. But we just still didn't have a great senior year, and I was just, at the end of it, I was just like, I didn't have a great performance my senior year. We didn't go far in playoffs at all. But we all love each other. We all kept going. We all finished the season out. And now it's like it's really like a good lesson for me. Keep going. And now look at where I am. Now I'm happy where I am. I've never been happier. Like I'm literally found my spot. I found where I'm supposed to be, and I just kept going.
For sure. What advice would you give to someone that wants to be in the same career path as you?
I would just say reach out to these big organizations or even the small organizations. So work your way up through you know doing what you love, getting trust from these whoever you're working with, and that'll lead to so many opportunities. Get comfortable in front of a camera if you want to interview. Behind the scenes, get good at you know like reaching out to teams. Get good at talking to coaches, because if you build a relationship with a coach, they're gonna want to come check out your tournament. I've seen it. I've done it. Tyler does it. Colby does it. Rick does it. Sos does it. We all, are building these relationships, and I've heard from a lot of coaches, we're the best at it. Just like build like because a lot of organizations just want, teams come in, they want your money, they want you to, fill up the tournament. I feel like we build real connection and real relationships with these coaches, with these players, with these parents, with these organizations, and that's why I feel like we have such good turnouts in these tournaments.
That's truly important, especially having a good like communication relationship with, say, the coaches, especially if, say, you have certain players that would be great for their program, and then they're looking for, say, the right player for their program. So, like, that's actually a great point right there. And this leads to my question: outside of your sport and your career, what do you want to be remembered for your legacy?
Just off the person I am, I just want to be, remembered for just being kind, and just being so uplifting. I love to talk, I love to be funny. If you know me, I will talk to you forever. I'll talk your ear off. I just want to be just remembered as just being a good person overall. Just being kind to the people I love. Being kind to people I don't even know. If you come up to me, I will talk to you for however long you want to talk. That's just I just want to be remembered for just being a good person, someone people can come to, someone people can look, at and be like, that kid does what he does well.
Absolutely. I think that's like telling y'all it costs nothing to be kind because it'll take you on a long way in life. So, but I always ask my guests this question because bona fide means authentic and unique, but for the men, the authenticity. So, what makes Mr. Ryan Phillips authentic and what makes your story stands out?
I would just say, if you know my story and you know what I've been through as a player, as a person, you would see that, I've overcome all this stuff. Again, my senior season, like I barely played some of my senior year. I got sick, and, just playing time from there, trusting the coach just went down, and I've just overcome all of that. I still finished out my season, even though, again, with the mental health, I was one of them. I just want to quit this basketball stuff. Go to school, go do this my thing. Obviously I didn't go play in college. During the middle of my senior season, it was clear to me that I was not going to go play college ball somewhere. So, I was looking, if I'm not gonna go play college ball and I'm not having a good season, I'm not playing. Why still stick it out? And or why not go use my last of my senior season? Because that's valuable time. You never get your senior year back. So I wanted to take my time. Basketball takes a ton of your time. You got school, then you got basketball, then you got shooting after, then you got film, then you got to sleep. And I just wanted to take that time, put it into something else, and pursue that. But I just didn't know what that was until Phenom came around.
Man, come on with it. Like, why waste your time if you feel like it's not gonna help? Like, man, because I wish people would understand. when it comes to, and you made an excellent point. Yes, there's a lot of people that want to go D1. And I mean, that's everybody's dream. But
Mhm.
when it comes to, say, you have the D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, or mid major, those are high competition as well. But like, you know, would you, it's like, would you rather go to, say, a D2, D3, NAIA and change that program's culture to where you become All American, you become, say, the all time leading scorer? Or would you rather go to a D1 where you're just there for the name, but you don't get, say, playing time and you're just sitting on the bench, and say your senior year arrives, you only play 2 minutes? So it's like,
Yeah.
you gotta go where you're gonna be valued and be able to showcase your talent and not tolerate it. I think that's the biggest thing I wish athletes really understood more about, is being valued.
No, for sure. And a great example of that is that Peyton Kemp kid. He just committed to Robert Morris, and he had high major, like very high major D1. And I know he went there. It made sense for him to go there to get playing time his freshman year, and maybe he balls out his freshman sophomore year and transfers to those high D1 majors that he had and built connections with, that they would offer him down the line if he entered the transfer portal, and then he would play his junior and senior year with those 2 years experience under his belt, and maybe get more playing time in these higher Division 1 programs. And even if you go D2 JUCO, you get your 2 years back. And I know that's a popular choice now because of that new NCAA rule, that you can get your 2 years of eligibility back, and you can just go and like develop as a player. And if you have those 2 years and then you come back in as a true freshman, then you'll be looked at more of a like a very, what's that word, like experienced player, and more coaches will take notice, and you'll have 2 more years than everybody else, and you'll still have the same amount of eligibility.
That's real. Because I know back in the day when JUCO, it was that was your 2 years, and then when you transferred, those are the rest of your 2 years, and that was it. But the
Mm.
way the NCAA has changed, especially with the transfer portal and NIL, is like, this is this is a game changer. Like, yeah, go take your, go to JUCO, take those 2 years, and then you could just get your extra 4 years or 5 years. How nowadays it's like 4 or 5 years. Some players have stayed at like different colleges for like 6, 7 years. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on? So, but Mr. Ryan, can you tell the folks where and how they can find you and any upcoming events happening your way?
So I'm on Instagram at ryanphillips.phenom. And then I know we're going to Florida this year. We'll be in ING Academy. We'll be down by the Fort Lauderdale area. Those are in April. I know we're going to, I think it's Knoxville. I think we're going to Rocky Top or Nashville. One of I think it's Knoxville. I think it's Knoxville. We're going to Knoxville. We're always in Raleigh, North Carolina for that live period because I got those 20 courts down there. I know the schedule hasn't dropped yet of where exactly we're going, but we got the Georgia tournament. We're moving to Florida. I know Arizona's got some tournaments out there. Virginia Beach, we're always there. I don't know if we're going there this because I know somewhere they're building this new like venue, and I think we're gonna hit that place up. Um, and you know what? We're always in Rock Hill, South Carolina. We're always at Bermuda Run at Rise. And, so far, I don't know where exactly we're going. I know we're at, Next Play 360 down here sometimes in Georgia. That's in Georgia. But I know, you know, kind of where we're going. I just don't know exactly where we're going yet.
Hey, it's like a bus. You booked and busy, a whole schedule already, like just set. But y'all be sure to follow Mr. Ryan Phillips on Instagram, and be sure to follow Phenom Hoops, y'all. And be sure to check out all the events he just mentioned, because you see some of your favorite players, he's going to be interviewing them. I promise y'all. You see some of your favorite players that's going to be stars and superstars, he's going to be interviewing them. So big shout out to Ryan for coming on the podcast. And you can check out the live replay of Bonafide Her podcast, episode 265, featuring the one and only Ryan Phillips. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.